here's what I was thinking about in terms of point line playing in general, is that like you have this interesting opportunity to kind of start over, and you're like, it's like a part 2 where like you took a break, maybe you got wiser, maybe not, but like now you can approach it from a different point of view. And like so few projects get that opportunity. Like some of them are like one and done, or like you're in it and you do it for the run and then you're like, okay, we said everything, and then you never return to it. Like, this is an interesting opportunity to kind of revisit things, try things. Like, was that part of the motivation of starting over?
Yeah, well, I guess we should. Is it on?
Yeah, it's on. Yeah.
Oh, hello. No, I'm instantly awkward. Whereas before I was just talking to.
Countless worlds upon worlds, worlds without end. In these galaxies, every possible reality exists. And what is reality on any one world is mere fantasy on all others. Here, all is real and all is illusion. What is, what was, and what will be start here with the words, in the beginning there was.
You are listening to
Mutations.
Mid-Valley
Mutations.
Citations. Mutations. Mutations.
On Sheena's Jungle Room.
Mid-Valley. Here we go again.
Part of the WFMU family of products.
Mutations.
And good hello. It's Mid-Valley Mutations here on Sheena's Jungle Room, WFMU. And yeah, we got a kind of unusual and special one tonight because it's the Point Line Plane story. A geometry lesson that you won't mind in the slightest bit. And yeah, we got a pair of interviews, some recordings that have been released, and some live recordings that have not been released, and some other things that are kind of from other places here and there and whatnot, and including a rare Moon Patrol recording by Nathan Carson's first band. And if we have time, we'll get into a track by Joshua Blanchard's psychedelic rock band Plants, if we have time. There's a lot to cover in this show, and we actually have two interviews with both members of the band, because each of them have done a lot outside of Point Line Plane. They both been in many bands, had many stories to tell, and so it kind of felt right to get both sides of the story. And for this one, I'm going to have to ask you to get ready for rolling back the clock, relying on memory. I loathe to say get ready for some nostalgia, although there's plenty of that as well. But there's a little bit of a different twist on it, because rather than wallow in the nostalgia, they brought it back. They decided, well, hey, rather than having fond memories, why don't we just keep doing stuff? And I don't know, it's an interesting take on a band, and for someone who has a lot of nostalgia for this era of Portland music and bands from this era and music in this style and from this scene. It was it meant a lot to be able to talk to these gents about this particular project. And you know, I think the story actually kind of starts a little bit before the interviews, because I actually had some drinks with both of these gentlemen quite a while ago on a trip to Portland, and they were talking about the impending Point Line Plane reunion, but I guess reboot is a better way of putting it. But they weren't actually talking about it in a way where they were like, it sounded like two friends talking about something they used to do, and they were excited. It was like two friends who used to role play together, and they're like, oh, we're going to bring that campaign back. It's going to be great. It was more like that. And I don't know, there was something about it that was just really, it really spoke to me as someone who is longing for that kind of connection in the world. It's wonderful to see it in action with these two guys. So. I don't want to talk too long because we got lots of other talking to go. But let's get into the first part of the interview. It's Nathan Carson on the show again. I had him on the show quite a while ago, pre-COVID, before I was on WFMU. So we're going to actually reference an interview that most of you probably haven't heard, but that's okay because we actually get into new stuff to talk about. It's Mid-Valley Mutations here on Sheena's Jungle Room, WFMU, and yeah. Goes a little something like this.
Really
Reform, reboot, return.
Mid-Valley
The Point Line Plane story.
Mutations.
Interviews with Nathan Carson and Joshua Blanchard.
I was thinking about the last time that we talked, and I think we mostly talked about Witch Mountain and your writing. And it wasn't that there wasn't things to talk about with bands like Point Line Plain and whatnot, but it was, as far as I understood, inactive. So there was just no reason to bring it up at that time.
Exactly. I mean, it's as much as I think very fondly of Point Line Plain, there were 20 years where it was just a part of the past. Even though we never really officially announced a breakup, and we never even really called it a breakup, we really sort of, I think in our minds, felt like it was on the shelf and that it could come back at any time. Honestly, I thought it might happen sooner than this, but this is how long it took. So, because, there was no dramatic breakup or anything. It was just that, we started doing other things, and we had sort of burned out. We had done so much in such a short period of time that, it was time to focus on other matters for a while.
I think about some bands that have, been together for years and years and years, and they're still working on their second album. But in the 3 years that you guys were together, not to underline this, but you guys had 2 albums. I think you guys played a show almost every week in that 3 years. And I mean, you had countless little tracks here on compilations and stuff. That is a tremendous amount of work for a very short period of time.
Yeah, and I think it was exciting. We were in a scene, or really kind of straddling many scenes that were happening simultaneously in the early aughts, where there was just an explosion of creativity and a lot of young people that were engaged and interested in going out and interfacing with music that wasn't mainstream. And so even though, the majority of the shows we played were pretty small scale, there was a lot of energy and excitement, and I feel like we were, empowered by that because people were responding and there were constantly opportunities. And I know that we played the Blackbird 9 times one year, and I think maybe there was a year where we played in Portland 20 or 30 times just in the beginning, just because we wanted to get our stage legs and, define ourselves. And then, of course, we started being a little bit more choosy about the shows we played, particularly at home. But we were definitely, hardworking and constantly creative. And I think in the end, unfortunately, we had worked so hard that, maybe it wasn't happening fast enough. It takes a long time, I've learned, being in another band for almost 30 years, that, fruition does come around, but, you kind of have to stick with it. And unfortunately, this was a bit more of a bright comet experience.
Yeah. But, as you say, though, in that short period of time, you got to tour around and play with some really incredible acts. And it's one of those things where, sometimes that, a brightly burning comet ends up being really worth it, because you're remembered fondly.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope people remember it. I think the big challenge for Point Line Plain coming back right now is that breaking up in 2005 means we didn't leave a digital footprint. For a band that was played by John Peel and was written up in alternative press and the Village Voice and The Wire, there is a really great record in my file cabinet in all these magazines that lavished us with praise, but you Google us and there's almost nothing there, because I think we had a MySpace page briefly before we ended, and that was about the era. And so, if we had been around for another even 2 years, then there would be a lot more of a record of us online than there is. So to a degree, we're relying on, people's memories, and a lot of people our age don't go out as often anymore. So
I mean,
hopefully there's new audience, maybe.
Yeah, for people who don't quite remember, so you guys kind of stopped playing around 2005, and in 2005 was really before a lot of the modern social media had kicked in.
Absolutely.
You still had, as you say, MySpace kind of just got started on the end of that. You had a few things kind of before that, but I mean, people were still looking at the weekly paper for shows, and flyers on polls were still a very valuable resource in those days.
And we had really great publicists at the time, so not only did we get a ton of press, but when we would roll into town on tour, there would be a feature on us in the weekly almost everywhere we went. Like our photo and a story about us or a review or whatever was in print weeklies almost everywhere. And again, that's very ephemeral stuff that's not around anymore. And those weeklies weren't necessarily duplicating their material and putting it online yet, even though that started to happen not long later.
Yeah, I mean, it is such an interesting time because it wasn't like we weren't online in 2003. We were still like sending email and stuff like that. It wasn't like it was that long ago, but just kind of the way that people interact with the internet has vastly changed in that 20 years. And as you say, these days there would be like, YouTube videos of live performances and all sorts of other stuff that just wasn't around back then.
Yeah, I'm just the right age to have never had to book a tour via payphone. And I'm very glad for that. Like the fact that email was already in effect by the time I was in bands that were starting to leave the state was really fortunate, because the amount of work and the expense that it took for people to book tours in the 80s and early 90s was rough in comparison. So I feel fortunate in a way that I missed out on that.
Yeah. things that I keep seeing mentioned when people mention Point Line Plain coming back is it's not a reunion, it's a reboot. And I really like that phrasing, reboot, because I feel like that not only captures a much more Point Line Plain kind of perspective on music and whatnot, but that I think is a little more honest too, because like it's not like you guys are exactly as you were 20 years ago.
No, but we are definitely trying to recreate, the energy of those performances. The very first show is coming up in about a week, and we just had a blazing rehearsal today where we played 40 minutes of music nonstop, and we're sweating and screaming and pounding, and it was interesting to get back into that place because, our bodies are 20 years older.
Right.
But as Josh says, he's more angry now than he was then.
He's got a right to be. But he was telling me in another conversation about how things have changed a little bit in that, like, now he has to remember to bring his glasses to practice and things like that. That like he might be still angry, but there's other limitations.
Sure. I stretch a lot. I drink a lot of water. Set up my drums in an ergonomic way. But honestly, like going back and looking at all the old footage, I already had very good posture and technique the way I played, but I think it was a little bit stiff too. Like I'm planning to rock out a little bit more and, move my body a little bit more than I did back then, because I think I had it in mind that as long as it sounded good, it was okay. But I feel like it's good to put on a bit of a show. So I'm hoping to be just a little bit more in motion besides just from the wrist.
Right. Yeah. Well, this does kind of bring up like an interesting question, because you do keep very busy when it comes to bands and music that you work on, and there's a lot of things that could come down to timing. But was there any other like factor that kind of said like, okay, well, now seems to be the right time for Point Line Plain? Well,
back in the day, one of the things that really made us capable of doing everything we did was that there were only two of us, and it would be like we got offered a show, and one would call the other and say, "Hey, are you available on Tuesday to play a show?" "Yes." "Okay, we're in." Whereas in most bands, you have to check with 3 or 4 people and domestic partners and schedule around our lives, And
Right.
so we accomplished a lot because there were only 2 of us, and so the reunion or reboot or whatever you want to call it was almost exactly the same. Last September, Josh texted me and said, "I had a dream that we had a reunion." And I said, "That sounds good." And then we just started making plans. It was really that easy. There wasn't a whole lot of discussion. We talked about some philosophies, and we both made sort of a wish list of which songs we wanted to play. And it was the identical list. And that also seemed very fortuitous too. It was like, great, I guess we remember fondly the same songs, and, maybe other ones would be a bit more of a chore to bring back. So that just was cool.
That legendary telepathic quality between the two of you at work again.
Yeah. and we've stayed good friends the entire time. Even not living in the same town, we still keep in touch and see each other and make, opportunities to hang out. So that never went away. It was just that we were doing other things. And again, like I do kind of wish that we had stayed together longer in the first place. And I wish perhaps we had gotten back together sooner, but this is the reality that we live in. This is the time. And especially with me being an agent by day, I know how to make things happen. And, it's not just a hobby, even though this band is definitely something we are doing for fun. It's not like we're coming back with the idea that we're going to quit our day jobs and be Point Line Plain. But at the same time, I like to do it seriously, and I like to do it well, and I want everything we do to be worth our while, and I want to entertain the audience. So, I want to do a good job. And so that's why we've been getting together and rehearsing as hard as we have.
Yeah.
But I guess the other thing with timing is that Josh is in a band called Major Hex, and I'm in a band called Witch Mountain. Both of those bands are relatively on hiatus right now. So, not to say that either can't come roaring back when the right opportunities hit, but I've learned to not fight it when a band gets into a low ebb. I much rather let that happen because, you know, I don't want to flog people to do things. And when the time is right or the opportunities are there, then we'll talk about it. But in the meantime, if everyone else is busy and Josh and I are lifer musicians that never want to not be making music, and we had such a good experience making music together that it seemed like a good time to just do that again.
This is also a good opportunity to kind of bring back an album on vinyl that never got that opportunity in the first place. Like, you guys are re-releasing... it was basically on CD, but I guess kind of went out of print very quickly, if I understand right.
Yeah, I mean, there were still some copies that I was able to get from our old label out of his warehouse, and I had some. So I wouldn't say we'd completely run out, but it was... If we had kept touring, we would have sold out of it and been out of it within probably one more tour.
Right.
So I do have some old stock, but not very many. Basically, it had never been on vinyl. And that first Blue album, the self-titled in 2003, I think Josh and I both look at it as one of the best albums we've ever been a part of. It was just such a distillation of such a creative time for us. And we didn't really have any preconceived notions. It's not like we sat down and wrote a list of like rules for what point line playing was. Point line playing is what the music sounds like when Josh and I play together, and I'm really fond of bands that sound like the members of the band rather than bands that just had a concept.
Yeah.
Reform, Reboot, Return.
Mid-Valley
The Point Line Plain Story.
Mutations.
Interviews with Nathan Carson and Joshua Blanchard.
Ah, yes. The soothing sounds of someone screaming about what's wrong with the world around them. Certainly, I get a kick out of that, especially because we know Joshua, and man, that guy. Just beneath the surface, there's a little rage, in the best way. I'm no shade. I love it. It's I think more people need to go there. This is Mid-Valley Mutations here on Sheena's Jungle Room, WFMU. We got the Point Line Plain story tonight, talking about a band from about 20 years ago that is getting a second chance to kind of have it be a little bit more than just nostalgia. Let's just say that. And we heard some selections from the first Point Line Plain album. We also heard one recording from their live performance here in Salem, Oregon, at Christo's Lounge on the 2nd of May. We'll hear a few more cuts from that show, but honestly, that is all kind of like me doing my journalistic diligence, I think. We talk about it a couple of times in the interview. They're not really a band that wants to disseminate a lot of live recordings. I think they've done it exactly once on their demo CD, where they had 3 live recordings on that. We will hear those at some point. There's a few things from the show on the 2nd that I thought was worth bringing to you, mostly because there's a kind of special song in there that is new old, let's just say. Nathan talking about how it was quote, today, like a week ago or what have you. I have to remind people that interview was recorded on the 26th of April. So certainly when he says that in a week or what have you, time is different. The first 2 shows on this Point Line Plain tour are past, unfortunately. Because when I did these interviews, it was at this odd time where I couldn't quite get it on the air fast enough to promote that they were playing that weekend. So, I mean, I mentioned it last week, but I couldn't get the interviews on in time. So, anyway, just a little bit of that. And Nathan's mentioning of Joshua's dream about he dreamt that they got back together and then they got back together. I meant to ask Joshua about that, and we ran out of time during our interview, and there's something about that is so kind of perfect, because not only are they getting a second chance with this band, but it's like they dreamed it and it came true. And I don't know, there's something about the power of that manifestation. I have wanted that so often in my life, and I've tried. How I have tried. And there's something about the metaphor of making your dreams come true that is so wonderful and incredible. And it's nice to hear when somebody actually gets that done. We're gonna get into the next part of the interview here. A little more with Nathan Carson of Point Line Plain and many other projects. I will dig up the link to the other interview I did with him, but I do recommend his books and his writing, and I do recommend his other band, which we may or may not get a chance to play a sample of, depending on how much talking I do. So, it's Mid-Valley Mutations here, Sheena's Jungle Room, WFMU. Let's get back into things.
Reform, Reboot, Return.
Mid-Valley
The Point Line Plain Story.
Mutations.
Interviews with Nathan Carson and Joshua Blanchard.
it feels really hard to specifically pin down genre, quote unquote, because like it doesn't really sound like it's screaming at me like, oh, Point Line Plain sounds like this, you know, like it really sounds like its own thing.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what we were proud of. So that was what we set out to do, was be a unique band, and that's why we were able to kind of play with so many different kinds of bands, because we were just enough one direction that we could play with screamo and emo type bands, even though that wasn't our thing. And you know, really shortly after we started playing live, people started throwing around the word electroclash, and I was like, what the hell is electroclash? I have no idea
I forgot
what that
about
is.
that. Oh my
and
gosh.
people would say dance punk, or they would say brutal prog, and you know, it's just fun, or new wave or no wave. And you know, there are elements of all of those things, whether inadvertent or not, in the music, and that's cool. I mean, I guess you could say it's post-punk or art punk. The funny thing to me is I've never really considered myself punk in any way, but musically, I think it's there. There is definitely an antecedent called, or is it precedent? Anyway, there's a band called The Screamers from LA from the late 70s, and neither Josh nor I had heard them at all when we started the band. It was when we started looking around, and you know, we kind of came up on the term synth punk because it just seemed succinct and accurate, even though we didn't mean that to box us in any way. But when we needed a short, you know, genre tag, synth punk seemed to work. And when we started looking into that, we found the Screamers, and I was like, oh wow, this is a really amazing band. And very shortly thereafter, we ended up on a Screamers tribute comp. And
I'm holding it in my hands as we speak. The Necessary Effect. Yeah.
That was one of our very first recordings and releases. And I think we recorded that song in the same studio and sessions as our first demo. And so that became maybe the first official release, was the Screamers tribute. And we had a CDR demo that we made that I really like a lot of those versions as well. I think the 8-Bit Graveyard on the demo in some ways is better than on the album.
there's some really excellent artists also on that Screamers tribute, and it's like some bands that kind of were then kind of like you, burned brightly and then faded away, and some others that are kind of still around, and it's an interest. I like that kind of quite a bit. What made you guys pick that particular song? Was there something about it that screamed Point Line Plain, or was it just one that you kind of said, I think we can do this?
Well, the reality is all the other songs had been chosen already, and that was an extremely rare pick that Eric Whitaker, who put out the comp, helped us find some scrap that hadn't been recorded yet, and we were like, oh, this is 90 seconds long and it's easy, so we can tackle this in a hurry, because we just wanted to be involved. We just felt like, oh, you know, like now that we've learned about this band, we want to pay tribute to them, and they're great. It's unfortunate that the Screamers never made a proper album, but they had it in mind that they wanted to make a movie instead of an album, and then the movie was never really finished, and there's only demo and live recordings, and it's too bad, because they ought to be remembered in the same way that X or the Circle Jerks or any other like LA hardcore band from that time. Like, they were important, and they were popular, and they were good, but they kind of shot themselves in the foot by not participating in the album process. Yeah,
my entire relationship with the Screamers is getting live recordings taped at the end of another tape or something like that, and they'd be like, oh, here's like 15 minutes of a Screamers concert. And it was always like really interesting, but you're like, I wish I could hear more of what they're doing, because there's people screaming and it's a live recording, and it's just muddy as all hell.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the demos are okay too, but I mean, it's really one of those musical legends where you kind of have to fill in the blanks with your mind.
Yeah.
I guess we're trying to do the opposite here, where we were a very well-documented band for the short time we were around. I have a list of every show we ever played, and, you know, the date and venue and the bands that we played with, and recordings of, you know, probably dozens of concerts, and video from half a dozen or more that I digitized so that we could study our performances and kind of figure out what we were doing. And part of the reissue process with this album was going back to the original tracks and getting it mastered properly for the first time, because we were so broke when we put out that first record that it ended up getting mastered in the box by the engineer who recorded it. And I think he did an excellent job, but there is always something to be said for getting proper mastering by a mastering engineer who's not your producer, who, you know, kind of comes in with fresh ears and amazing equipment and experience and just says, here, I'm going to make this album sound the best that it ever has. And so I'm really excited about the remastering of this. And I have the test pressing of the vinyl now, and honestly, that's the best it's ever sounded to me. I feel like the vinyl is definitive.
Very cool. I mean, yeah, this is kind of the thing about like being able to reboot now, is that like, for better or for worse, you guys were, let's say, scrappy, And so you're kind of doing things as quickly and as cheaply as possible. And now with like a little more time and thought, you can really make these albums sound like they should.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of performing live and whatnot, you guys have some shows and like kind of some tours and stuff going on. That I mean, I guess not big tour; it's like a short one. But yeah, I mean, what are you guys looking forward to in this regard? I mean, like you guys played a lot in the old days, so these days, I guess you can kind of like pick and choose the way you want to do your live shows.
Absolutely. I mean, so the first thing we're doing is we're playing in Eugene and Salem this coming weekend, May 1st and 2nd, which probably is in the past by the time this airs, but
might be.
It was, the idea. First of all, Josh and I grew up in the Mid-Valley. I was outside of Corvallis, and he was in Kaiser, outside of Salem.
And you guys knew each other from a young age, right?
We were teenagers. He was maybe 18, and I was 20 or 21. I think we met. He had already moved to Portland, and I was about to when our band started playing together. And he did help a band I was in get a show in Salem or Kaiser around that time. But yeah, I mean, we were young, early 20s, I guess, when we met. But that's far enough back. I think, and in the context of things these days, I mean, yeah, we weren't in a high school band together, but our bands were playing together when we were pretty young.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we wanted to play in the Mid-Valley. It's also kind of a low stakes place to kind of shake the rust off and get our stage legs, because immediately after that, a week later, we're going up to Vancouver, BC, and Seattle and Portland to play with our label mates Dazzling Killmen, who also have just reunited after 30-some years. And so I am a longtime fan of the Killmen, but I never got to see them live. I just got into them shortly after they broke up back in the 90s. So when they reformed, I reached out to them and wanted to help them as an agent. And in the course of that, found out that Nick Sakes, the singer-guitarist, is a really big fan, particularly of the Smoke Signals album. So I was very flattered that he loved Point Line Plain. And I was already working on our reunion shows, and he wanted to come out. He wanted Dazzling Killman to come out to the West Coast essentially the same time. So it just made more sense to combine and have them hop on as a headliner rather than to book two different things.
Yeah. Very cool. It's nice that you guys actually get to connect now, though, because it's like the Mutual Admiration Society actually gets to show up on stage together.
Yeah, it is exciting. I mean, it's a little bit intimidating because those guys are such rocket scientist musicians and they're playing such complex music. So, but at the same time, whatever. We don't have to follow them. So
there you go.
And they're fans and they're friends. So I think it'll be a really nice time.
Yeah.
And then they were gracious enough to invite us out to the Midwest to play a couple shows with them because we're going to be playing at the Caterwaul Music. I forget what they like to call it. They don't like the word festival, even though it is a festival. But Caterwaul in Minneapolis, which is 3 days of noise rock, basically, which once again, we sort of just can fit in, and maybe by virtue of being on Skin Graft and being noisy and being rock-based, but anyway, they were happy to have us as a reunion act and have done a nice job of kind of putting our name in lights, which has been helpful.
Very cool.
Reform, Reboot, Return.
Mid-Valley
The Point-Line Plain Story.
Mutations.
Interviews with Nathan Carson and Joshua Blanchard.
I'm going to have to get on Mitch's case about the pronunciation of Joshua's last name. That sounds a little off there, Mitch. Oh, well. This is Mid-Valley Mutations, Sheena's Jungle Room, here having a little fun with the Point Line Plain story. A reboot of a band that was a bit of a concern, an ongoing concern 20 years ago. I think Nathan mentioned earlier that, I mean, they even had a song played on John Peel's radio show. I got a copy of that broadcast, actually, that I meant to listen to before this broadcast, but I couldn't fit it in. So, but I mean, a band made a little bit of a splash back in the day, and then is back to play more shows, to kind of cast the die again. And as you will find, I think if you listened carefully to the first part of the interview, it seems like there might be another phase of this band's story coming after this, because I think Nathan hinted at there possibly being some new songs. And then, of course, Joshua will talk more about that later. So, yeah, interesting things on the horizon for Point Line Plain. Let's see. I liked the bits in there, kind of talking about stuff that's happening on the tour. I certainly getting to play with other bands that you're a fan of and that is a fan of you. That is a very special, rare treat that gets to happen for people who play shows, and I love when that happens because. I would love to say that every show that you ever go to, all the bands love each other, but it's not always the case. And so it's a delight when these things line up in a way that actually kind of matches sensibilities and taste and things like that. We're having a delightful conversation in the digital salon. If you should join us, go to WFMU.org/Sheena. Scroll on over to where it says live listen and playlist. You'll find folks hanging out, talking, chatting it up, making some stories about their memories and whatnot. And I am definitely in an interesting position because when you do a show about a band that used to be 20 years ago, certainly nostalgia comes up. But they did this interesting kind of like shuck and jive where, in fact, they're kind of starting new in a way. And so, I mean, like, they have songs, but it sounds like they are interested in kind of seeing what this band can do in the present day and not necessarily leaving it in the past. And that is a very interesting way of kind of handling the nostalgia problem. I like that. That's very smart of them. I am currently wrestling with nostalgia and with the problems of creativity and trying to find your position in the world and things like that, and hearing stories of people who have long-standing creative relationships and how they are kind of working at it now is definitely very meaningful. As I said earlier in the show, I have a lot of fondness and great memories of going to shows in this period of time in Portland. A lot of great bands, a lot of great compilations. I was kind of pre-college in those days. Hadn't quite started going to PSU yet, so I was definitely kind of more involved in like going to shows and zines and things like that in that era. And it's certainly taking me back in a way that I had not anticipated when I started working on this show. You want to see a 50-year-old man cry at a synth punk song? Well, come over to my house. Let's get into the last section of the Nathan Carson interview so that we can talk to Joshua Blanchard, who's coming up here next. It's Mid-Valley Mutations, Sheena's Jungle Room.
It's the Point Line Plain story. A geometry tale that you can enjoy.
Reform, reboot, return.
Mid-Valley
The Point Line Plain story.
Mutations.
Interviews with Nathan Carson and Joshua Blanchard.
Well, this brings to mind, because you were talking about kind of going through old recordings and whatnot, and now you're going to be playing some new live gigs. It seems like, in my mind, the next natural thing to work on would be a live album. Do you guys have any plans for something like that?
I could see that happening, depending. I think it really depends on how great we sound live. I think to some degree, we are the kind of band that, like, when you see it and you're there and it's in your face, it's really exciting. Whether or not we're executing stuff live in a way that listening to it back on record, I would love it if we were in that place. And I think that we might need a few more months to get to that place. But we're still writing, we're planning to write new material pretty soon.
Oh.
So that's also in the works. So it's not just like a nostalgia trip. I mean, we're starting with the music that already exists, just to kind of get back into the swing of it. But I think Josh has already been working on new songs. And in the course of my archaeological digs, I found a number of songs that we wrote and played live in the past, but that never got recorded. There's a very cool era towards the end of, I guess it would have been late 2003, before we became a trio and before we started writing the Haunters soundtrack and Smoke Signals. There were a couple of like late in the game songs from the kind of the first era that we started to feel like, oh, we're moving beyond this place creatively. But now when we listen to it, we hear it more like, oh, that was the most advanced version of the early version, and that's really cool, and those songs deserve to be heard. So one of them at least is going to be played at these shows.
Exciting. Very cool.
Yeah.
Are there any plans to work with Howard again, or is that just kind of a leave it in the past? Or
We are great friends with Howard, and we love him to death. He just never really enjoyed playing in song-based projects. He's much more of a jammer and an improviser, and I think that forcing him to repeat parts and do what we do would be kind of like putting thumb screws on him, and we don't want to do that to our friend.
Maybe he can take some photos. He's gotten really good at photography in recent years, and might be nice to have him take some Point Line Plain photos.
I could put some rocks on the merch table.
There we go. There we go.
Well, yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the thing that I always ask you about, Bishop of Battle. The last time we spoke, you said there is a possibility that that might be a reissue coming from that band. Is that even remotely possible, or is that still in the works?
I think it would be great to at least get that stuff onto Bandcamp. And once again, like, the reason I left the first Point Line Plain album offline for so long was because I really wanted to get it mastered properly, and there was just never the right time to do that. With Bishop of Battle, I'd kind of like to do the same. That was another one where we basically mastered it ourselves.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think it does sound good. I'm proud of that record, and I'd love to share it with people more. But I also think that if I could get those master tapes and send it to a pro mastering person, I'd feel a lot better about putting it online, because I feel like once it's out there and available digitally, you know, that would be what it would be forever. Like, it's not like that album's going to continue to get remixed and remastered forever because there's limited interest in it. But so anyway, that would be my goal, would be get the tapes together, get it mastered, get it on Bandcamp. I feel like that's about the life of that album. It's kind of sad because there was a label out of Sweden that wanted to issue it, and it was right as the band was kind of breaking up. And I've been in this position multiple times where I was in a band that worked really hard, and we finally got label interest right as the band was folding. And in every time that's happened, I always just level with the label and say, hey guys, I don't want to take you for a ride. I don't want you to invest in a project that's not continuing. And unfortunately, that means that those albums kind of never really come out. Whereas if I had let them get issued, maybe it would have been a bummer for that label in the short term, but none of those labels even exist anymore. And the albums would be on Discogs, and it would be out there. So that's happened a few times with different bands that I've been in. So
yeah, I noticed not too long ago that they had for sale at a record store in Corvallis a Moon Patrol cassette, and I almost bought it and then regretted not doing it.
Well, I can hook you up with the digital files of all that stuff. That's also music that I would love to get mastered properly and then put online, because I think that those recordings were really cool, and the best ones were never even issued. I mean, we did make cassettes of our 8-track recordings, but we did some 16-track reel-to-reel stuff at Smegma Studios in Portland that was really good.
Cool.
And those songs never came out anywhere. And I play them for people sometimes, and I think it turned out really well, but so yeah, I can get you MP3s of that stuff just for your personal enjoyment, or for the radio. If you want to play it on the radio, that's cool too.
Love that. Yeah, just fond memories, so I always have to ask.
Surface
I'm astonished my Bishop of Battle CDR still plays. Like, after how many years has it been?
Yeah, I mean, that was like right on the verge of the Manor Astroman West Coast tour that we did. We burned 200 of those at 2-speed, like working around the clock.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great show, too, because you guys paired so well with Manor Astroman that it was like, fun night.
We were really fortunate that they kind of took us under their wing, and they understood what kind of a nerdy outsider trip we were on, and that was very fortunate.
Oh, that's a great way of putting it. Well, in case we haven't hit the nail on the head enough times, there's Point Line Plane is actually on Bandcamp now. Ta-da! So you can get some stuff there. You can pre-order the record, which doesn't come out, I guess, until the end of May?
I think May 29th is the release date for the vinyl. There's also a CD reissue of the 2026 remaster, and that one's got a bonus track on it that's not available elsewhere unless you were very much a completist of Point Line Plane back in the day.
Certainly, you were a band that was of the CD era, and so that is my memory of seeing Point Line Plane CDs. So.
Yeah, we did one 7-inch single, and everything else was on CD.
And if you are curious about ordering CDs, pre-ordering vinyl, or just about anything else Point Line Plane related, you might want to visit their Bandcamp page. Point Line Plane, all one word. pointlineplane.bandcamp.com.
Well, thank you so much. Live shows coming up. Please check the notes, because I'll put some links and a list of the shows you can attend. But it was great talking to you again. It's been a little while.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you taking the time. And for the people that are local to New York, we're going to get out there one of these days for sure. We had so many cool shows in Brooklyn and Manhattan back in the day. We'd love to get back there.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was reading that you guys played about 150 times in your original...
We did 148 shows in 3 years.
Which is shocking.
That was without an agent. That was like us just... taking every cool opportunity that we could and networking as hard as we could and getting in minivans and going for it.
I have always believed that it is possible to play that often if you want to, but getting together with enough people and getting them all on the same page and the same wavelength is the trickiest part.
Yeah, I think just being young and being a duo, that made all the difference. I mean, even as soon as we added a third person, we stopped being that active. And so that's why by 2005, in the end, we had gone back to being a duo and started touring more heavily again. But by then, we're just kind of hitting burnout because it's like a lot of work to go play somewhere for $75 or $100. And that was what was happening a lot of the time back in those days. And it was enough. I mean, gas was cheap. We had somewhat efficient minivans. We were selling merch. We had friends everywhere, and we could stay on people's couches. So, it's not like we were starving.
Right.
But it was just going to take time to grow. And I think the heartbreaking thing to me is I feel like if this band had stayed around longer, we'd be in a position now where, we'd be a band that was 25 years old that would be able to go to Europe every year and would be going to Australia every year, would be invited to play a lot of cool festivals and parties. But, that's also a big investment of life and time that we put into other things. So so be it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're having fun with it, and I'm glad I get a chance to see you guys, because I missed you in the original phase, but I loved those records, so I'm glad people are going to hear them again.
Well, thank you very much, and I'll see you in Salem.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm working that show. So
excellent.
Yeah. Well,
captive audience.
You take care, Nathan, and thanks again.
You bet. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Reform, reboot, return.
Mid-Valley
The Point Line Plane story.
Mutations.
Interviews with Nathan Carson and Joshua Blanchard.
Nice to talk to Nathan again. I think I mentioned this in the Digital Salon. I'll mention this again now. I did an interview with him quite a few years ago, mostly about his writing, and I think we talked about Witch Mountain and a few other. I asked him about Bishop of Battle, of course, because I always do. But if you are a fan of horror and Pacific Northwest writers and things like that, check out Nathan Carson's stuff. His novel Star Creek is quite good. I think he's got some short stories in here and there and whatnot. Nathan and I talked about this, but it's always nice when somebody has kind of a vision for what they want to do, and then they go out and do it. And Nathan is very good about setting a goal and making sure it happens. And I like that about his style. We were talking about Howard in that last little section of the conversation. Howard I think it's Gillum. I don't actually know because I've never asked him about his last name. But yeah, I would say Gillum. Howard. He was the third member of Point Line Plain, and sort of joined up for the Smoke Signals album, and then they did a couple of tours on the West Coast with Howard, as I understand it. I wanted to kind of talk to him on the record just to kind of get his take, but actually, when talking to him, I realized Howard kind of doesn't really have the same kind of like long stories that Josh or Nathan have. In fact, Howard's comments were like, "Oh yeah, I really enjoyed being in that band, but I realized later that it wasn't for me, and yeah, I had fun." And so I saw him at the show in Salem. I see him around town every once in a while. He's really into photography these days. I think he has an Instagram where he posts his stuff, but I'm not 100% sure. But I did see him take photos of Point Line Plain while they were playing at Christo's, so I believe those are out there somewhere. And I like the idea of the band member that has kind of moved on is now also still part of the visual art component of the group by taking photos. There's something about that that's very nice and poetic. Sometimes certain kinds of scenes and crews are they don't actually just disappear. Sometimes they just move on to other roles. Well, yeah, that is one side of the story. But let's start our conversation with Joshua Blanchard. He is the other half of Point Line Plain. Has been making music since he was a teenager. I think they will probably nail his coffin shut while he's playing a synthesizer with the other hand. But we'll find out about that someday. Certainly. Until then, why don't we just hear it straight from Joshua himself? We met at the Triangle on the patio to have this conversation, so it's going to have a lot of outdoor sounds. I just realized I should probably mention we had a lot of backing music behind the conversation with Nathan and I. That backing music was Garfried. I can't even remember this name. Garfield Freibeister, something. Crystal World, and I thought that was kind of a very complimentary for our backing conversation. There'll be some backing music behind the conversation with Joshua and I. I'll identify that at the end of our chat. Well, let's get into things here. It's Mid-Valley Mutations, Sheena's Jungle Room, WFMU, and we're telling the Point Line Plain story. And to do that, you need both members. Enjoy.
Reform, reboot, return.
Mid-Valley
The Point Line Plain story.
Mutations.
Interviews with Nathan Carson and Joshua Blanchard.
This is an interesting opportunity to kind of revisit things, try things. Was that part of the motivation of starting over?
Yeah, well, I guess we should. Is it on?
Yeah, it's on. Yeah.
Oh, hello. Now I'm instantly awkward. Whereas before I was just talking to. In a way, I would say it was part of the conversation. I mean, I would say if we continue to work on stuff, we will be doing some probably very different things that are still in the same wheelhouse. But, I mean, what we're doing with these just select amount of shows is trying to really replicate as much as we can as middle-aged men, are like, that sound. I mean, I got my old keyboard fixed. I have using the same amp, one of the same amps that I was using. I have trying to replicate the pedals as much as I can. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel on these shows. I'm just trying to play
again.
Yeah, but I would say moving forward, absolutely, like we would have a chance to, like we're going to be doing things really differently. Because my desire to make really screamy, fast, harsh music is, as a 50-year-old man, is not really the same. It's like, but I would like to be heavy. I'd like to make music that was heavy, and I like to make music that was sonically interesting. But, I think that both of us have, I think, a nice chugging Jesus lizard kind of pace is maybe what we kind of want,
Right,
I don't know. We'll see.
Right. Well, I mean, you're talking about kind of like playing the old gear again and whatnot, and I think that's kind of like a nice place to start too, because like, I mean, you can get bogged down in nostalgia and whatnot, but like the reality is that like it had a certain sound to those songs and those records, and it would be weird to try to like, oh well, we'll just play a synthesizer this time and it'll be fine, or what, like whatever. Like, I think that it would feel like cheating immediately if you didn't at least try to like feint in that direction.
Well, the funny thing is the sound I use is very simple. This old Korg synth that I had, and there's nothing fancy about the sound at all, but I was spending all this time trying to replicate with better equipment this old sound, which was kind of funny. Because I'm just like, I was like, it doesn't sound shitty enough, it's not like, or, it's not quite the same.
Right, it needs a little more of this, like, analog, like, noise,
And yeah, it needed something. So when my buddy fixed the original synth, I was very happy, because that's what I wanted. And I didn't want 2 synths.
Right.
I mean, some of the later stuff we had, our friend Howard was playing with us, and it was a lot more sonic and slower than what we were doing on this first record, but the
Smoke Signal was one where he was kind of like the third member.
He was, and he added a lot to that, and but trying to, once we started just trying it all to play these songs, we were like, most of these songs are not going to work, because I could set up a whole other keyboard and have a whole other, but,
right.
But ultimately, trying to replicate the energy of those early shows was important to me too, because I know in the later, when I tried to replicate Howard's sounds after his short, membership of the band, it just made the performance not very good, because I was trying to do too many things.
Yeah, your attention was divided.
Yeah, I was mixing the sounds. I was like, and I wasn't like just because before I would just be out in the crowd. I would be trashing my instrument. I'd be like, just jumping on me, and I'd be doing whatever. So, I don't expect it to be quite like that now, but I wanted to get as close as I could.
Sure.
One keyboard ran through 2 amps.
Right.
There's a bee in my hair.
We should maybe say that we're outside.
There's a bee in my hair.
So nature is part of the environment of this interview.
This is true. That bee was definitely in my hair. Good for the bee.
Yeah. Well,
it should live and I should die ultimately.
Everything
for the
is
sake of the world.
Everything's blooming and dying at the same time.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that is a good point, is that like there's no reason to reinvent the wheel, because you guys did this before, you knew how to do it before, so like why not just do it that same way? And there's a simplicity to it where it's like, well, we're not yet writing new songs, so we don't yet have like a charted out new territory for this band. So
I see that happening as potential, but and I have some ideas already. I got a couple songs.
It's good because Nate said you did.
Yeah. I do have a couple songs under my belt but it didn't seem like the right occasion. I feel like we had plenty of stuff, and just ultimately, most people who'd be interested in seeing us now are people who saw us back then. So,
possibly.
Maybe. Either way, I stand by the material.
Yeah. Well, let me ask this then, because certainly. When I talk about like then and now in terms of a comparison, one thing that I heard Nate say, and I think you even mentioned this at one point, is that you made the comment you might actually be more angry now than you were then. And when I re-listened to the first record, because I got some files from Nate and heard the remastered new version of that first record, it sounds pretty angry. I mean, it sounds pretty like snarling and like that you're ready to throttle somebody.
Yes.
And like it seems pretty in your face. So
yes.
I mean, like in a good way, but like so I was trying to imagine so he's madder.
Well, there was plenty to be mad about then, and in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
but
sure.
it's. I mean, that was this was like the George W. period. I mean,
Sure,
and I remember at that point being like, it couldn't get any worse than that. And it got way worse. And things are way worse. And and ultimately I've just seen so much more. I've learned so much more about how shitty people can be and how shitty politics can be, and how shitty our country is, and it just and just it's lived through a lot of life. And so I haven't got any. I wish people always said when I was younger, especially like politics and stuff, they're like, well, you're kind of radical now, but you're gonna end up
you'll mellow out.
Yeah, you're gonna pick a party and blah blah blah. And it's like no,
yeah.
like I still am very much not that.
Yeah,
and I'm just as. I mean, I'm maybe a little bit lazier in a way because I'm tired and I'm a bother and I work all the time and I don't have a lot of energy.
So the stakes are slightly different in a way that it wasn't 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, I'm just waiting for my imminent death at this point. But it's like, but I do have a child, so I'm like, thinking about him.
Hoping they can at least go out and do something.
Yeah, I hope so. But yeah, I mean, we're living. I mean, so I know we had a song recently. There's a song called Warriors that was a song we never recorded, but we played a lot. And we're playing it on this for these shows because we both enjoyed it, and we're like, let's play that one. But I realized that going back to the audio was like, I don't remember. If I had lyrics, I do not remember them. And it's very fast, screamy, minute-and-a-half song.
Ah, I see. Okay.
So I found myself sitting down to write lyrics, and it was very easy. And I found myself writing more overtly political lyrics than I would have at the time.
Okay.
Although they're not just so on the nose that, but it still sounds like Portland Plain, but it's a little bit more obvious than all the sci-fi metaphors that we used to use for everything,
I mean, there's definitely layers of obfuscation going on in the original songs.
Yes.
Kind of, there's probably other meanings here, but there's also a lot of screaming.
Oh yeah, most of those early songs are pretty have a lot of political intent behind it, or not political and social commentary, I'd say, but I always, especially at the time, and even now, I always had a hard time being direct with lyrics. I don't know if I've ever written a song in my life where I said that I loved someone, or that just calling a spade. I have to kind of make it. I have to kind of purposely make it vague and creative sounding, which is, I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, that's, it depends on.
I always prefer that anyway, where
me too.
It seems like it's a little more fun when it's like a little puzzle you have to decode and kind of go like, oh yeah, okay.
No, I think so. I mean, sometimes, I also don't feel like I have the real heart and narrative skill to write, be like fucking Bruce Springsteen or whatever, or whoever. It's like I don't.
You don't have a Nebraska in you?
No. I mean, I like that. I have the sound of Nebraska, not the heartfelt.
Sure.
I don't know. I just feel like other people can be super direct, in a way that I cannot.
And that is not the ground you want to carve out for this project anyway. This project has a very kind of different perspective on things, and so.
But I do feel a lot more political than I did then, because I don't know. I do, because it's just the nature of the world. So I would imagine that things coming up might reflect that. I don't know.
maybe this is a good time to talk about the things that happened in between, because I mean, you didn't stop making music once Point Line Playing kind of wound down the first time. You had a lot of other projects between that.
No, I've never not had a band. I've always had at least one band, like, since I was 16.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, the amount of time I've put into them has shifted, but, yeah, so I had, after Point Line Playing, I had a psychedelic band called Plants for a number of years.
Oh, right. Okay, I'm remembering this now.
Yeah, and we actually put out more, honestly, Plants put out more records than Point Line Playing did. We were very prolific. And it's kind of a period of time where it was easy to get people to put out records and put out a bunch of records.
Yeah.
So, you know, put out something like 6 releases or something with that band in a pretty short period of time. And then after that, I had a band called Coronation. It was like a Italo disco band.
Yeah, which this is the one I have the single of. I got this outside of knowing you, just going like, oh, this is an interesting name for a band, and you know.
So you didn't even know me. That's cool.
Yeah. But it was one of those things where it's like, when you live in Portland, you see like so many band names that it's kind of like,
Sure.
Well, I'll try this. Who knows? You know, like you never know.
Where did you find it?
I think I got that one probably around 2010, 2009,
Do you remember
somewhere
where
around
you
there.
found it?
I think it was at maybe the Ozone closing sales that they had, where they were going out of business at that one location, and they kept marking down product like
Ozone
over
was so
and over. Oh man, you'd find some, and they would often have deals. So it was like not just like, oh, you could find everything, but it was like it was actually kind of worth it to go in regularly and see what was.
The Ozone Records is probably my. It's hard to say. Probably my most important record store of my life, because I went there from a young age.
Oh, I see. So he even has like a longer history for you.
I went to the original one on Burnside, and then ended up getting to know a number of the workers over the years. So I just went there forever and ever. And then people would, and then after a point, you know, some of these people who I got to be friends with would be like, oh, there's this weird post-punk band or this krautrock rock band that's right up your alley.
Yeah,
and then, of course,
they start to know your taste.
Yeah, including Eric E-Rock, who did the artwork for
the record,
for both of our records.
Yeah.
He worked there for years and years.
Oh, wow, okay.
And that's how I met E-Rock.
Okay.
As well, when I was, you know, probably 19. You know? So,
I love stories like that. That's
Yeah.
great. I mean, like, this is kind of how all scenes are built, is that it's never just kind of like these like disparate names that don't, it's like people that know each other and kind of like appreciate each other's point of view and work and kind of want to collaborate, you know.
Oh, but to finish this question before we got too rambly, so after Coronation, I've been doing for the last 7 years, wow. I've been doing a band called Major Hex.
Yeah.
That is industrial synth pop, all synth. So, you know, I've definitely had a brief foray into playing guitar after Point Line Playing, probably as some sort of response in the back of my mind. But
I have to do the exact opposite now.
Exactly. I was like, I don't play a fucking acoustic guitar now. Fuck you, Nate. You know, but I've done all since then. I just pretty much went all back to synth. So I mean, Major Hex is, you know, all synth. So I've been doing that for a lot of years too. So, and
the last time we spoke in an interview style like this, you were doing Major Hex. We talked about that. I think it was kind of a couple years in at the time, and so like you were. I think you had like the one tape out and we're working on some new material and whatnot.
And I'm not doing Major Hex anymore. We're just taking a break. So I mean, after 7 years, sometimes it's good to take a break on a band and just kind of come back to it when it feels good. You know, probably maybe I'm sick of a Halloween this year, and I was like, that's sort of our Major Hex's bread and butter is playing Halloween shows. Those are always some of our best ones. So I'll probably get back and do that. You know.
And you guys had a pretty good album release show where you had a new tape out and played an excellent show, and it was kind of like, you know, a representative of all the work you guys had done over that period. So it was kind of like a nice, like, well, if we're going to take a break, this is a good time to kind of like sit down and think about the next move. So.
Well, and you know, I found that it's good, and honestly, this is very true of Point Line Playing, probably more than any band I've been in. I think it's easy to put a lot of effort into a project, and then maybe you feel burned out. At the time, I felt burned out with Point Line Playing for just all kinds of reasons. Like, and I was feeling burnt out, and instead of just being like, you know what, we should take 2 or 3 or 6 months off, and then instead I was just like, I don't want to do it anymore. And and this is a youthful person saying, and now I'm kind of realizing that.
And we should also maybe add a little context here, because it wasn't just like you got burned out from being in a band for 3 years. You guys like played like almost weekly. It was like 150 shows in that period of time.
It was like a job. It was a job.
You guys had 2 albums, numerous compilation tracks, and little one-offs here and there. I mean, like, in that 3-year period of time, like, were you sleeping 8 hours a night? Like,
not on tour, though.
I mean, like, I just think about trying to accomplish that much in that tiny amount of time, and like that seems like just super impressive on its own.
Yeah, I mean, and it was a lot, and that was ultimately, I should have just, at the time, I should have just been like, you know what, because we've been doing that for a long time. I had been underemployed and living on Nate's couch.
The Portland way.
Half the time, or in some cheap ass $150 room or something. So I was able to really commit myself to that, and then at a point I got a decent job that I liked. I met a woman that I eventually married. And then divorced, but that's a whole other. But I was really wanting some stability in my life, and that was huge. I was just like, the idea of just like having a steady place to live without roommates, actually having some spending money, actually being able to go out to eat and not worry about it or whatever, or be able to buy myself records and things. Like, I had just been living so lean that I was just, this newfound stability was really nice for me at the time. And
there's a photo of you guys in those days where you guys look like super thin and like super like kind of like angry, and you're like looking up, and it's kind of like, I can imagine like, of course, like, why have anything, just let's go on tour and make music, what's the point, like,
why have dinner when you could have the Jägermeister?
Oh no.
Shell-shocked by the red guns. Subtracted from the sun. It's a trap, these bright stuff runs. Suspect all the night. Shell-shocked by the red guns. Subtracted from the sun. It's a trap, these bright stuff runs. Subtract the zeros and ones. It's a shocked by litigants. Subtract it from the sun. It's a trap, these bright fronts. Subtract the zeros and ones.
Reform, reboot, return.
Mid-Valley
The Pointline Plain Story.
Mutations.
Interviews with Nathan Carson and Joshua Blanchard.
Blanchard. I am a normal voice. Blanchard. Oh, Mitch, come on. I keep threatening to have a casting call for somebody to replace the voice of Mitch and do it in real time and whatnot, but I don't know who would actually be available every week to do that. So it has not yet happened. But living the dream. Someday I will have a real actor play Mitch. That'd be amazing. Mid-Valley Mutations here, Sheena's Jungle Room, WFMU, and we are giving you the Pointline Plain story as best we can between Comcrash realities as they interfere with our broadcast as much as possible. It's like dealing with some zippers or something like that. They just don't want us to get the story out. Apparently, they feel that this story is too controversial for prime time. They think we don't need to know why Joshua was broke and scrappy in Portland 20 years ago and living on couches and stuff. The Comcrash says no, we don't want you to know that. Please let us interrupt and give you more what's a popular the Devil Wore Prada 2 references or advertisements. I don't know. Actually, I don't know what Comcrash is interrupting you with, so I have no idea what to blame. we're kind of in the back 40, as they say, where we're giving you the story. I mean, what I love about this is that they kind of decided, they had a lot of fond memories for this band that they were in like 20 years ago. And there was this idea, of course, maybe they could try to run a nostalgia trip, or plan B, why don't we reboot this band? Why don't we kind of start over? We got a bunch of songs, we can learn those, and then see where it goes from there. And I love this idea because, like, I feel like there's a lot of us that if given the opportunity, if we could turn the clock back and reboot something that we did well 20 years ago, that we would take that option. We would open that door. Yes, please. Door number 2, Alex. Let me see what's behind there. Yeah, I don't know. I certainly wrestling with now and the past and whatnot is something I think about a lot, and so that has informed some of our backing music tonight. The Dance of Time by Michael Law. This is a electronic cassette that I found and I quite like, and it's our backing music for some of my voiceovers. Let's see here. Yeah, I certainly, a lot of relatability with that being poor in Portland in those days. I think I mentioned this. Up until I think I met my wife, was basically living on couches and in extra bedrooms and out of bankers' boxes that needed to be moved very quickly sometimes. That was my life for far too long. And being young and scrappy and the early aughts in Portland, I feel like that is just far too much my real life story. Oh man, but at least we always have the radio to fall back on. Let's get back into. We got a little more tales from Joshua Blanchard here. Of being in Point Plain. We're also hearing some demo recordings, a few live tracks here and there, and their remastered very first album, which is now available again. When they were first around, it was the CD era, and these days nobody wants a CD, except me. Give me all your old CDs, please. I'll take them. So they rightfully decided to remaster it. Now it's available for streaming, download, and a vinyl pre-order, which is very cool. I'm gonna get me one of those. That's you know it. Seems like the stream keeps resetting tonight. I don't know why. Let's just get back into it. Maybe that it doesn't want me to talk. Maybe that's the problem. Well, let's just get into the interview then. Mid-Valley Mutations, Sheena's Jungle Room, WFMU, and we're kind of in the back 40 tonight. Let's get back to more stories from Joshua Blanchard. This was recorded on the back patio of the Triangle here in the Mid-Valley, outdoors, so it may even sound like it. We do what we can. Let's get into it.
Reform, reboot, return.
Mid-Valley
The Point Line Plain Story.
Mutations.
Interviews with Nathan Carson and Joshua Blanchard.
Well, so another thing about then and now that I was thinking about is that you guys were around at a very interesting period in Portland's music history, because it was still pretty cheap to live in Portland in those days. There was a lot of places that were welcome to all sorts of bands. So, like, there was opportunities to play music if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And a lot of people moving to town who were interested in doing music as a thing either for hobby or professionally. And so, like, there was a weird kind of, like, fertility at that time where a lot of interesting, odd, wonderfully strange bands that were not really kind of like the standard rock and roll outfit were kind of up and coming. And I mean, looking back at the bands that you guys played with in those days, like, it is a amazing roster of, like, early 2000s indie rock. Like,
yeah,
it's fantastic.
No, I remember when I was first going on tour. I did a couple of tours with some other bands before Point Line Plain, but Point Line Plain is who I toured the most with. But I remember we'd go on tour, and then people would be like, "How's Portland?" I was like, "Oh man, it's so great. You should move here. It's so." And then after a while, I was out there, I was like, it's not so good. You know, I was just trying because I was quickly seeing that it was getting a little. The whole dynamic was changing quickly.
The resources were already
the resources
used.
were being sucked away by people moving from wherever, California, Midwest, East Coast, everywhere. So, I mean, which is fine. And I grew up in Oregon, so I, a little protective after a point. I was like, I shouldn't have, been quite so encouraging. But, at the time, I will say that Portland at that time, and I would say even before that too, but, there was this whole early days of Portland indie rock, 90s, early mid 90s, and it was lots of cool bands of all different types. And so many cool bands, and then that continued.
And they really set the stage for letting things kind of continue in that way. Yeah.
No, I'd say so. I mean, because there was a lot of kind of quirky or indie rock bands that I really liked, and also metal and experimental bands. Indie rock is a term, but I would say that that continued, and then there was sort of around the time I left Portland, let's say 2000. When did I leave Portland? That would have been 15, I'm going to say maybe around 2010. There was a shift. Things got more expensive. There was this sort of yuppification of Portland, where we were where everyone was like, oh, we have this counterculture. How can we sell it? How can we sell it as a product to everyone?
And it became harder.
The salt and straw and the voodoo donuts, and no offense to those companies.
But it became harder to be an artist, and it became more about,
expensive.
how are you making money, and, where...
Or you just had to make money because...
Yeah.
So there was a point where, in a way, I would say that bands in Portland started to sound better. They had better gear. They were tighter sometimes, in a lot of ways, or just more pro. There's a shift, but then there was a lot less weird shit.
Right.
Everything was... Things sounded better, but they... around it's like, oh, the Shins live here now.
Yeah, there were fewer of those experimental showcases where you got some really strange bands, and then a couple of really rehearsed bands as well, and you saw fewer of those kind of things.
And those bands or those things kind of moved to the. It used to be kind of front and center in a weird way in Portland, and then it kind of they kind of got pushed to the edges. Those kind of weirdo events. And, and the fact that we were a band that was getting our photo in the weeklies and and getting write-ups all the time, and and we were not a normal band, so I mean that was true of
many genres in a way that was I think people pigeonholed you as indie rock perhaps because they didn't know how else to call you anything. I mean, I guess now people are calling it post-punk, but I don't know if that was the intended statement at the time.
I mean, I would have called it post-punk at the time, to be honest, but I remember it, but they were different. People were saying no wave. A lot of people calling electro, which I never thought we sounded like that at all.
There was kind of a movement for calling things that, though, in those days. Where
they would use it a little generous.
Yeah, kind of too many things got lumped in, where if you had one keyboard, it was electro.
Yeah, because I mean, electro to me is, it could have a punk element, but it often is more 80s. There's vocoder. When I think of electro, I think of Egyptian Lover or
sure,
something like that.
I kind of like Egyptian Lover for that reason, though.
Maybe that's not the best example.
It typifies that kind of what I think of as electro, though.
It's usually. I mean, I think of it as drum machine based, synth based, kind of
almost on that edge of disco and new wave, a cocaine
a little bit
disco.
hip hop in there too.
Yeah.
But we were not that at all.
No.
We had the single song on the first record, which we're not playing, which was one of our people loved it, or I don't know if they loved it. People at the time liked it a lot, called Code Decode, and that was the closest we got. And we neither of us had any interest in playing that song. on this because it seems very much like it seemed like a flash in the pan kind of song, like we were trying to cater to
Interesting.
a certain thing. It just the only song on that record I'm like,
Nate said that you guys had an interesting moment where you guys basically were unanimous in terms of the songs you wanted to each return to for this project, that you had lists that were basically identical.
They were, and that was actually cool. There was very little. There was some. Yeah, I'd say they were pretty much identical lists. There was a couple that were in this sort of middle of the range. There's like one song that we ended up playing called Velvet Hole in the Head that we both always liked, but we didn't necessarily anticipate it. But it really made sense in the set. And then certain things that didn't make sense. But yeah, in general, I think we both knew, with 20 years hindsight, both of us were like, yeah, that worked and that didn't work as much. And or also, what can we do? What can we pull off with just the two of us? Because there's not a...
This is the other thing about this, like, second chance, is kind of like looking back at it, you can go like, oh yeah, we did that really well. Let's keep doing that.
Or not.
Let's stop doing the things we didn't do so well.
Yes. Well, this is the interesting things about this music that we've been choosing, and then some of the, as we've been going through the demos and things, that there was this whole period of time in the middle of those two records where there's a bunch of songs, and then I feel like, maybe Nate was in the same place, but I felt like I was not interested in making more of that kind of music. I didn't, because, and in fact, they were more aggressive.
Oh, interesting.
And shorter. There's all these songs that are like, there's like 3 or 4 that are really weird and very harsh, and like a minute and a half.
That Screamers cover basically completely informed this little period.
So there was a lot of that in that period of time, and then we had that single around the same time, which the Curse, which we are playing, which I love that. I do love that song. But then we had all these songs and I wanted to get away from that and do something a little different. And then at the same time we had did you guys talk about the Haunted House documentary?
No. Actually, I meant to ask, and then we kind of didn't even get to it. So.
Oh, well, there was a friend of ours was making a documentary about haunted house attractions throughout the country.
Like these kinds of things where they have teams of people that are there to kind of like put on a haunted house.
Yes, exactly, and it's a yearly thing, and and now I think it's probably accelerated to a much bigger and more professional thing.
Sure.
I would imagine,
as all things have in the last 20 years,
for better or for worse. But so he was making this movie, and then he asked us to make a soundtrack for it. And I think he gave us $300, which at the time seemed like a lot of money, even though we spent like so much time remaking it.
I was going to ask, did it even break even?
Probably not, but we were like, wow, it's hundreds of dollars.
Sure. It's more than two.
It's more than tens of dollars. So we made this record, and so this is ultimately we were trying to do too much, which is I think was the ultimate thesis statement of the original Point Line Plane era, as we were trying to do too much. So we were making the soundtrack record, and at the same time we had added Howard as a member, and then we were trying to make the soundtrack record, Howard as a member, and then also trying to make this second record. So we were trying to do all this different stuff all at once. So we were recording all the time. We were getting on each other's nerves. We have difference of opinion. So there's this whole soundtrack record that exists.
Wow.
And there's a couple elements of it that ended up on the Smoke Signals record, but we were just not knowing what to do, I think, in a way, or we were trying to. We had too many things we were trying to do. So in retrospect, I mean, I'm imagining if we could have brought those harsher songs in, with some of those Smoke Signals with a couple, or done just totally different things, like different EP, or it's like, we just tried to do too much.
Sure. And I think that is inherent in like hearing about the amount that you accomplished, and then now, of course, and I forgot about the soundtrack as well.
we made. The soundtrack's cool. I hope we end up. I mean, there's certainly enough to do I don't know if I'd release every aspect of it, but
like an EP or something.
We could certainly do EP, and I think people would like it. I always really enjoyed it. It was really fun for me to listen to it because I had not had those files for years.
Sure. So you didn't even.
I had forgotten what a lot of things sounded like, and some of them sound great.
Well, yeah, this is the thing I had pitched to Nathan is that part of the Point Line Plain story is how like intense and awesome those live shows were back in the day. You guys should do a live record. And I feel like that would be something that could actually kind of slot in, that wouldn't necessarily require making new material, but could like represent some of your best material.
A live record without the visual would...
This is kind of what Nate said too.
Yeah,
it's like being at the show was kind of like the experience.
I mean, without the show, I think it would just kind of sound shittier. I mean, I also don't really like live records. Unless we're talking about jazz, then jazz is a whole thing.
This is a whole thing where it's like, it is, name how many great live records there are, and it's really hard to do. Like, it's, Yeah.
Well, even like some of the best, but like things that are... We went last summer at the fair and saw Cheap Trick.
Yes.
And that's, for example, that live at Budokan is considered to be...
Yeah, classic. Yeah.
But from all I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I heard that they did a lot of studio work to make those sound better. And adding stuff.
This is what I've heard has been sweetened, as they say, in the studio.
So I'm not interested in that. I mean, and in something like... But, I love live jazz records, but you don't necessarily... I mean, granted, when you see John Coltrane playing that horn would have been great. But,
yeah.
It's not like he's smashing the horn up against some audience's member and,
right.
their member.
It's not like,
audience's member.
It's not like a Mummy show or something like that,
yes.
where,
so the natural sound, and plus those songs, jazz recordings, they change so much every time.
Sure.
And it's not like that doesn't happen with rock or experimental music, but it's a different kind of thing. So, I don't know if I would do that. But we do have about, I think 5, not including the Haunters, the soundtrack music. I think we have probably 5 songs that we didn't record properly. And we do have some recording of it. And of course, I was like, a couple of them, I was like, let's just slap some vocals on that shit and call it good. And Nate was like, no, it's got to be perfect.
We got to write the song.
Well, I was like, it sounded like, I mean, it's just a little sloppy maybe, but...
This is an interesting thing, because I think both of you kind of like motivate each other in different ways, because like certain kinds of perfectionism will cause you to just, let's just move on, and I think that could actually like help create new material in a way faster than perhaps it might for other bands who lean into the perfectionism, and then you kind of both feed each other in that way,
He's more of a perfectionist than ultimately I'm more punk rock than he is, even though
in a lot of ways, he is a nerdier guy, even though he's been in probably one of
the
bigger metal bands of the area.
He's very thoughtful about... He's not a big partier. Mm-hmm. He's never been a drug addict. He's never, been real crazy. He never, with any of this,
This is kind of like Sparks, too, where it's like the reason they're so prolific and have lasted so long is that like they're not interested in that stuff.
Yes, Nate is not. But, I'm not speaking for me here. It's like I've always... I'm not an insane partier, and I've just kept myself alive this year, but all these years. But I like to drink, smoke. I'm a little bit, but I'm also a little bit more... I can definitely get... I can be a studio nerd, and I don't let go of things too much, but there's a point where I also think that we are a noise punk band, and trying to make it sound like Led Zeppelin is kind of
not the point.
Well, I just wanted to. Yeah. So I would be happy with some of these early things to just let them just be what they are, but I'm also catering recording. That's fine too.
Reform, Reboot, Return.
Mid-Valley
The Point Line Plain Story.
Mutations.
Interviews with Nathan Carson and Joshua Blanchard.
Yeah, we're getting into the things here because that was another cut from that demo CDR that I was able to get from Nathan at the last show, and I think he's going to have a few more of those available on this little tour that they're doing. He told me that he managed to find all of the new old stock that they had, stuff that had never sold 20 years ago but is still new. So he pulled all that stuff out, including a couple of compilations that they're on. They're on a Screamers compilation and another, I think, Wantage Records compilation that you'll want to check out if you have a little bit of a fondness for this particular era of Portland music. But yeah, we're kind of getting into the end of the show here, and I want to make sure I fit in all of the interview with Joshua. So let's get into this last little segment of an interview with him, and then we might have time for a few tracks by some of the other bands that they were in. I can't make any promises, but let's see how much time we have left. It's Mid-Valley Mutations, Sheena's Jungle Room, WFMU. It's the Point Line Plain Story, and I gotta say, in that little conversation about how Joshua was not interested in a live album, similar to the way Nathan wasn't, I think I love that how they are united on so many levels and ways with this particular project. Because I long for that kind of creative partner, and when I find it in the art that I love, I'm always pleased. So. Well, let's get into this last segment. It's Mid-Valley Mutations, Sheena's Jungle Room, WFMU, and every once in a while, it sounds like this.
Reform, Reboot, Return.
Mid-Valley
The Point Line Plain Story.
Mutations.
Interviews with Nathan Carson and Joshua Blanchard.
So we already mentioned the shows coming up, and Nate and I talked about specific dates for both the shows this weekend and for the upcoming kind of mini tour, so to speak. So people can find that information online. I guess the last thing I was kind of interested in is that, and the only thing you and I haven't specifically talked about, is this reissue of the first album.
Yes.
Because so I've heard some of the advanced remastered. Sounds pretty fucking good.
I'm glad to hear it.
And this is one of those things where, I mean, there was no reason to necessarily remaster it. The original sounded pretty great too, and it captured
that's
a
a
certain,
neat thing.
Time and period. But
Nate's like, we're gonna remaster it. And I was like, sounds good to me, but
But this also offers you a new opportunity because, like, I don't think you ever had it on vinyl originally. No. So this is like a nice chance to kind of like, what would this record look like if it was on a record?
And ultimately, I've always loved this record. I've made a number of records in my life of varying quality. I think every record I've made has actually been pretty interesting, but whether it's good or not, I don't know. But it was not boring.
I like that. I like that.
But this is one. The self-titled Point Line Plain record always held up to me as one of the best, few records I've made in my life. In terms of like, it was like, we were creative. We cared about how it sounded. We cared about how it turned out and the details of it, and we really.
It has a vision too, like from start to finish. Where
it does.
The cover seems tied to the songs. The whole part. The whole thing seems like it's actually like thought through in a way that like some bands you don't actually get that far into the production process.
No, we were underthinking things was never a problem for us, that's for sure. But no, it's great to hear it on vinyl, and it's really, like, we just got the test pressing a few days ago, and it was really great to hear it. My family was like, again, because they've been hearing this so much.
I have the same problem when I get a new pressing or a new mix of something from somebody. I'm like, I gotta hear it through the nice stereo, and Marla's like, I've heard it 100 times.
Yeah, well, exactly. And, fair enough. I would be annoyed as well hearing something over and over again. But, it sounds good. I think it's going to look good. I'm very pleased to have it being out in vinyl. And, at the time when we made these, it was a different time.
You have kind of more resources now than you did then, in a way.
Yeah, but also, I think I'd rather be back then in terms of making music, to be honest. I mean, despite the resources, I think that there was more of an infrastructure
for releasing and distribution,
and
100%.
And everything. I just feel like there was just sort of, it was just a better time to be making music, but to me. But
the resources exist more on we can produce a nice final product to sell to people.
Yes, it can certainly sound better, and everyone has a studio, and it sounds great, and everyone could book a tour and clog up the system, so there's not enough shows for everyone. I don't know. I just feel like it's just the DIY movement got a little kind of bit us all in the ass in a way,
In certain ways, I would absolutely agree. Yeah.
Because when everybody could just make a record, suddenly what's this? How is it special to make a record when every dude can make a record in his garage?
And they're also they're shooting for kind of a lower standard, a lower bar to clear in terms of completing that too. I think that the unfortunate downside to access is that more people think they don't have to try as hard, and so you kind of get a little bit of a mediocre final product.
Fix it in the mix.
Yeah,
don't play it right.
Or the other side of it was we just won't even mix it. It will just be a rough DIY, whatever. You start to lean into all of the worst aspects of it instead of leaning into the best aspects.
No, at the time when we were making this record, so everything was CD at this point because nobody cared about, not nobody, but
it was that period where you moved more CDs than records.
Yeah, everyone bought the CDs. People didn't buy records as much.
Tapes didn't sell as well either.
No, it was this period
where it
was only CD.
For
that moment. It was before streaming.
Again, the early 2000s is trying to recontextualize what that was like for people. It was really a different time for music.
MySpace and CDs.
I mean, at the end, you guys had MySpace at the end, though, not at the beginning.
Probably not, yeah.
But it was a different way of distributing music, and so putting things on CD made sense to do that.
But in recording it too, there was not really a lot of. We had to go. Fortunately, we had people who were willing to help us. Nate's brother had a studio, for example. We had some options that maybe not everyone would have, but there was. You had to go to a studio and record it to make it sound, unless you wanted a really lo-fi
home recording,
which we were not going for, particularly Nate. And so that was the option. You had to go there, and there was not a lot of moving WAV files around at the time in the same way. So you had to nail that shit. You had to nail those takes. You had to be practiced. You had to go in. You had to be. You had to be able to.
You couldn't change timing afterwards, or rekey the vocals, or anything like that.
Certainly, not much. There was some of that, but and now there's so much that fix it in the mix. I don't like that about. I like not paying for studio time, and I like that I can go with Major Hex. We've been recording everything in my bandmate's house, and it was great to just be able to work on it. But it took us, it's like a snail's pace. It took us forever.
There's nobody there who's this is another hour that I'm going to charge you for.
Yeah, TikTok. Yeah, exactly. So we would, so we spent 2 years making a record that shouldn't have taken that long because we were just.
A lot of bands are falling into this trap. I know some that are in the 10-year anniversary of an album that hasn't come out yet because they're tinkering still with this and that.
Is that My Bloody Valentine-itis?
I guess there's a point where I would much rather cut it off and move on because I feel you can get bogged down in the details in a bad way. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good working theory. I just know that it helps me move forward.
Well, there's a time where you need some people at least, or some situations, you need somebody to step in and be like, I'm gonna Phil Spector this shit, and I'm gonna like take it and just, you know,
Fix it.
make it whatever it is. And you know, it's easy just to get up your own ass with recordings for, you know, and then just have no even just listening to this Point Line Plain album, different, you know, masters of it, and they kept sending it to me, and I was like, I don't know, man, I listened to that 1,000 times 20 years ago, or I've listened to 100 times now. Like, I don't know, like after a point you just have you need just a fresh pair of ears to be like, that's good.
You have someone else to come in and like say like, what do you think?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I don't want to make this our entire day or anything, but thank you so much. I'm looking forward to these shows and to seeing what you guys do with this kind of new perspective. Is there anything else you want to add before we close up shop? Or?
Not particularly. I really appreciate you listening to me banter for a while. And Nate. So.
I was thinking about this more and more. That period of music for me was such a fertile time for me getting into music.
Yeah.
And so, like, I had just moved to Portland in 1999, 2000. And so, like, everything, and there was so much happening in that time that was not just rock and roll. So, like, it was really felt like I was, like, able to experience a wide range of culture.
But you never saw Point Line Plain at the time, did you?
No, I didn't. I don't think so.
Now you get a chance.
And I was thinking about this, too. Like, one of those options of, like, living in a bigger city is you make a lot of choices. And you're like, oh, well, I'll go see this instead of this. And, like, you don't realize what you're missing until later.
It seems like, honestly, it seems like so much up your alley. I'm surprised you never randomly saw us out of the 300 shows we played.
I think Cheryl was the one who was talking you guys up because she knew Nathan for some way. And so, like, that was, like, I knew it was, like, a thing. And I was like, oh, well, I'll see them next time. And then it never happened.
Next time is
now.
is Saturday night.
Yeah.
And you are hearing the music that was the incidental music during the conversation with Joshua Blanchard. Terry Gurning's Magellan electronic cassette. But let's get into a couple of things here. I think we have enough time to squeeze in a couple of tracks by related bands that were connected to these gentlemen. So let's get into, I think, up next we're going to play a little bit of Major Hex. And go from there. It's Mid-Valley Mutations, Sheena's Jungle Room. And we stand by our principles, even these.
And the words in your books have no meaning. For this is the text of the dead. The end of man's world lies ahead. You call on your leaders and gods. But conjured your devils instead. Buried your hands in the sand. Oh, for your hands could not be forgiven. You are the wolf and the lamb. Oh, the words in your book have no meaning.
Well, I think that's going to do it for us this week here on the program. The Point Line Plane story. I think if you haven't already gotten the gist, they're back. They're doing shows. I'm excited. I saw them on the 2nd. They have a little bit of a tour coming up. There's more information here on the page. I think we've talked it up enough, so you don't need that from me anymore. But yeah. Hopefully this was a good sample and a good way of kind of getting a sense of what they do. I don't want to take up too much more time because, of course, we've got Radio Trouble coming up very shortly after I finish this very program and relinquish things over to them. One of the best ways you could spend your Tuesday evening is listening to them. They do good work, and I love Nina and Doss with all my heart and soul. I feel like they of any creative folk in the world out there, they get Mid-Valley Mutations, and for that I am grateful. For that I am very, very, very grateful. I did not get enough time to play any Witch Mountain, but go look up Witch Mountain. I think if you like this kind of band and you want to know what Nathan has been doing, he has been in for 30 years now, one of the Pacific Northwest's greatest heavy metal bands. So yeah, check out Witch Mountain. I don't necessarily need to recommend them because they're kind of great on their own, but yeah, let's close things up. You know, one of the things I think is amazing about what Point Line Plane accomplished is that they took something that could have very easily fallen into the category of nostalgia, and they made it an ongoing concern. They're doing things with that project instead of just kind of letting it languish. And I don't know, thinking about the past and whatnot has been a challenge for me lately. And so I don't know, this song for some reason came to mind, and it came to mind that Point Line Plane managed to beat the primary issue that this song brings up. And I don't know, maybe that made me kind of want to close things up with it for some reason. Maybe this song has just been on my mind too much lately. Who can say? You guys are wonderful. You guys are beautiful. And without you, there would be no show. Be seeing you.
It doesn't pay to try. All the smart boys know why. It doesn't mean I didn't try. I just never know why. It's the cold all alone. Who, baby, you're not at home. And when I'm home, big deal, I'm still alone. It's a restless I beat my head against the pole. Try to knock some sense down in my bones. And even though they don't show, the scars are so old. And when they go, they let you know. You can't put your arm around a memory. You can't put your arm around a memory. You can't put your arm around a memory. Don't try. Don't try. You're just a bastard kid, and you got no name. 'Cause you're living with me, we're one and the same. And even though they don't show, the scars are so old. And when they go, they let you know. Okay, you can't put your arm around a memory. You can't put your arm around a memory. You can't put your arm around a memory. Don't try. Don't try. You can't put your arm around a memory. You can't put your arm around a memory. You can't put your arm around a memory. Don't try. Don't try.
Mid-Valley Mutations was produced for Sheena's Jungle Room on WFMU. Created by Austin Rouge and Mitch Headroom. Theme songs by Shadows in Blue. Visit shadowsinblue.bandcamp.com for more information. Emotional support, Marla, Leander, Oryx and Craig. Local denizens of the Mid-Valley, where the magic happens. Engineering and technical support by the Lava Lamp Lounge, where the elite meet to make radio treats that can't be beat. More information, austinrich.org. Getting older is no problem. You just have to live long enough.
Mid-Valley
Be seeing you.
Mutations.
Oh, well, who wants to live forever?